Boys proudly presents NASCAR Inside Winston Cup.
Well, last week we had Steve Grissom do the opening, and we're not going to have that happen anymore. Mike and Kenny had talked about it. So second's the best I could do, and we're going to talk about the Winston Cup race, Busch race, and the truck race coming up next.
Hi there, welcome to NASCAR Inside Winston Cup Racing. Alan Bestwick here in our Charlotte studios getting ready to review the events from Bristol and Bakersfield over the past weekend. Now, I know last Monday I kind of put the expert part of the expert panel in quotes because our guys didn't have a good weekend, but I'm proud to say we're appreciably better this time, and they're all in an appreciably better mood as well. We welcome to the program Michael Waltrip, driver of the nation's Red Chevy for Matei Motorsports, Johnny Benson, driver of the Lycos Pontiac for Tyler Jett Racing, and Ken Schrader, driver of the M&M's Pontiac for MB2 Motorsports. Kenny, 25th to 26th on Sunday.
Took me all day to lose that spot. We just missed. We missed big time, and then had a flat about 10 to go, and just kind of rode around. I mean, it was bad anyway. We was going to wind up 23rd, so just not a good day for the M&M Pontiac, but we'll just keep digging.
There you go. Johnny started 33rd, finished second.
Yeah,
Hey,
Bravo,
right.
bravo. You know, we may get one of those trophies here yet.
We're trying real hard, all of us are, but Lycos Pontiac was really good. James Ince made some great calls from the backstretch. You know, we pitted back there, and you know, a lot of people elected to get 4 tires or 2 tires, and we took on 4 tires and it worked out good for us. We had to borrow some from a couple pits in front of us there right at the end, and that's why I had the silver wheels on there. But like I said, the guys did an awesome job, and the car was really good at the end.
And wound up with the runner-up spot. Mikey started 23rd, finished 11th.
Yeah, we had a pretty good day. Bobby Kennedy just made an excellent call earlier in the race, got us 2 tires, and we passed forward there and got up to second. And followed Gordon for about 100 laps, and I felt real good about my car. And I don't know if I came up short on the feedback between me and the crew, but as the race went on, we weren't as good as we needed to be, and then we put it back just like we had it at the start of the race for the last pit stop, and ran the best we had since then. So I was proud of the team for the adjustments. A little bit concerned that I got us off in the middle of the race, but Bobby said on the radio a lot of guys would be loose and tight, and that's kind of what I was faced with yesterday. But sure was good to run up front for a while. I feel like I've been in a fog bank with the nation's Red Chevy because nobody really knew what color it was or anything. We hadn't been on TV at all, at least we got on TV, and man, I was real proud to see Johnny. He looked like he was after him there at the end of the race, and that was fun to watch.
Got to the finish with no major problems for the first time all season.
Yes, I'm 1 for 6 now.
There
so
you go.
That's good.
People are always interested in what goes on behind the scenes here at the program, and just so you know, before we started taping this program, we were treated to lunch, courtesy of our man Mikey.
I went to Mr. K's over on South Boulevard. It's located just adjacent to the place that offers bubble bath wrestling. And I don't know what drew my attention to that area of town, but that's where I wound up. And I got some good cheeseburgers, and we're in a good mood, and we're ready to talk about some racing here on the O Show.
There you go. So we'll pick the cheeseburger bun out of our teeth here, come back and look at some of the news headlines of the week next.
NASCAR Inside Winston Cup is presented by Pep Boys. Cars like us, people love us. The Home Depot, where low prices are just the beginning. And Super 8 Motels. Super 8, all the room you want.
Back on NASCAR Inside Winston Cup to check some of the news headlines now from Chevy Trucks. We will start in Bristol with qualifying on Friday. And one Steve Park, who scored his first career Winston Cup Bud Pole Award. His lap 126.370 miles an hour, or 15.184 seconds around the half mile. Park, the 5th different pole winner in 6 races this year. Before heading to Bristol, NASCAR fined crew chief Jeff Hammond $7,500. The fine for improperly attached weight found in the John Deere car at Darlington while the car sat on the grid prior to the race a week ago Sunday. And we discuss some of the headlines now with our expert panel, Johnny Benson, Michael Waltrip, and Ken Schrader, starting with qualifying on Friday. Thoughts on the sessions, the times, the speeds, and so on?
Steve Park was fast from when we unloaded. I think he was the fastest in the first session, and he was right up there in the second session. So you knew, I mean, they were geared up. They've been running good all year.
Yeah.
it was good to see Dale Earnhardt Incorporated get their first pole.
Plus, it was impressive to see Park. You load yourself up when you win both practices. You know, he had to go out there and perform, and then under all that pressure, he did it. He ran a great lap and got the pole. I was proud of him.
And then after he got the pole, he was pretty early to qualify, and he had to stand around and wait and wait and wait and wait. And I just thought it was fun. It must have been tearing him up.
I bet so. I remember when I got my first pole. I remember it's been a while, but I was like I was the 5th or 6th car out,
that up.
and had to wait through all that. It's tense qualifying day, that's for sure. And the speeds were fast because of the new tire, and but the cars were really under control. It appeared most people got in decent times, and it was a good day of qualifying at Bristol.
NASCAR said this weekend you'll be able to use frame bumpers on the front suspension of your cars at Talladega. A week ago they gave you back the front shocks. Now they're giving you back frame bumpers. Professor Benson, what are they and how do they work?
I don't know why you asked me, but they're just allowing us to put whatever we want, springs in the front, and they're just, we call them bump stops. Just keep the car from going down and hitting a racetrack. And man, I hate that they do this, you know, a couple weeks right before the race, and it just pretty much makes everybody have to go out and test a little bit. But we knew we were going to get the shocks and some springs, and all they did now is just open it right up for whatever spring you want to run in the front, and then the bump stops just keep it from hitting a racetrack.
And that's just in the front, though. The back ends, like we talked about last week, they'll stay up in the air like they're supposed to. And
they come and told us during qualifying at Bristol, so
that's why you can't argue with them too much. You got too much to worry about.
Yeah, they're about ready to get in the car, and they say, hey, by the way. And,
I mean, again, it'll make the speeds a little quicker, and then they're coming with a smaller plate, which will slow them back down. It just opens up some areas to work in for the guys on the crews. A lot of people complained about the rules not letting people use their ingenuity and their notes to make a car handle well and run fast, and now they've just opened up that part of the car, which I think it's fine. I think it's a good idea.
Okay. Let's take our break here and come back and get into our race review of the Food City 500 from Sunday at Bristol. We'll do that in just a minute.
One more lap. How about that? Hot rod. Big hard. Good job, man. Great job, crew.
You know, that win I got today was a special win to me and my crew, my family, everybody. You know, 50 was just a goal that we set forth to try to achieve, and all of a sudden that word started sounding real special. NASCAR wanted to do some things with it. The Miller Brewing Company wanted to do some things with 50, and we tried to get it during NASCAR's 50th anniversary. It didn't work out, but man, to get it right here at my favorite racetrack was a real special day.
Rusty Wallace, after career victory number 50 in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, he took the Food City 500 at Bristol on Sunday. We review the event now with Michael, Johnny, and Kenny. Here's our race summary. A lot of caution flags and a lot of caution flag laps. Gee, we're surprised by that at Bristol. 15 of the 43 starters finished on the lead lap, and there you see a 2.6 second official margin of victory for Rusty in the Food City 500. The first of the race's 11 caution flags happened all of 2 laps into the event. Elliott Sadler would find himself facing the wrong way around in turns 1 and 2 with some help.
Oh, wow.
Yep. He just probably meant to rattle his cage. Didn't mean for him to hit him that hard.
Got his son in the process, too.
Yeah, but he just
Could have been a lot worse.
got him.
Okay. I guess we'll have another look.
Yeah.
This would be
better.
from the junior camera.
Oh.
That would be Joe Nemechek that got him.
Yeah, when something happens, sometimes it looks like guys just run in there and barrel into you after the wrecks happen. But man, if you see it and the guy behind you is relying on the spotter or is in the point of the turn he can't see, I mean, it's just so hard to stop. So Joe just barely, as we say all the time, he just barely got into him. But barely is enough most of the time to turn the thing in the wrong direction. Dale Jr. wound up in the wall.
Elliott Sadler and Dale Jr. both ended up in another incident later on in the day. Elliott finished 41st and Dale Jr. finished in 38th. Let's look at some of the early racing now and talk about track conditions at the start of the event. Usually at Bristol with the concrete surface, by the time the Busch Series race is done Saturday, they've layered in the rubber on the track in the outside lane. You had some rain Saturday night. Did that narrow the groove up at the start of the race and make the outside a little touchy?
Well, it did take a lot of the rubber off the track. Plus, they go out there with the blowers and they blow most of that off anyhow. And it just takes a little bit longer to get the rubber back in there, but as you can see, as the race goes on here, the track starts to get really dark.
There's two grooves. There's definitely a groove up there to run. It's just that it's faster on the bottom. The best way to get around Bristol is just to hug the apron, and it doesn't matter how much rubber's up there, it's further, and the grip is still at the bottom, so it's just better to run around the bottom.
Yeah, besides being further, it's just the grip's at the bottom. You can't run the top. Most time on the top, you can run it because you can carry more momentum. You just can't do it there because it doesn't have the grip.
Let's move ahead to lap number 40 and trouble in turn 4. This would be one Robbie Gordon getting some help. And we could classify this as typical Bristol.
Typical getting turned. I mean,
There's almost enough room to go underneath there, but for whatever.
He wasn't even on the bottom. I don't understand. Matt must have misjudged it or something because Robbie wasn't cutting down or anything.
Now look to the right of your screen in the aftermath. Dale Earnhardt will find trouble.
Yes, Bobby Labonte catches the back of Earnhardt and spins him around. Turn 4 was not kind to Dale Earnhardt yesterday.
Pit stops here under the caution flag. This was the one where you guys took 2 tires, Mike, right?
Yes, we did. We had run 40 laps, and some of those had been under caution, so we felt like it was a pretty good opportunity to try to see what 2 would do. Bobby Kennedy had told me before the race started if he saw an opportunity to try it early, he would, just to see what we would have later, and worked out pretty good for us.
We will see how well it worked out. After the restart, Jeff Gordon was the leader with Ward Burton, who also took just 2 tires under that caution, and our man Mike right behind him, or actually Ward led for a little bit till Gordon passed him. But the point I want to make here is you guys didn't fade back to 9th or 10th or something. You stayed up there 2nd and 3rd, which kind of surprised me on 2 tires.
Well, I was a little bit surprised when they threw the green. We ran 2 or 3 laps. I could tell right away my car was as good as the guys that had gotten forward. Park was right behind me, and I knew he'd been good all day, and he couldn't keep up with me. So it was a good feeling to know that the tires weren't that big of a factor, especially when you're pitting on the back straightaway. Didn't know that later on in the race maybe that might come into play again.
Looking at Gordon past Ward there, and again, you know, Ward and yourself, Mike, stayed there in 2nd and 3rd, and it just didn't fade. Turning that around, I was surprised we didn't see more guys try 2 tires for track position later in the race, Johnny.
Actually, later in the race, a bunch of guys did, and we took on 4 because we knew that every time that we'd pit, we'd lose 4 or 5 spots from the front stretch, and we knew they were probably going to take 2 anyways. We couldn't beat them out anyway, so we went ahead and took 4 on the last stop that we had, and it allowed us to be able to stay on the bottom of the racetrack good. And you know, following Ward and the 24 car and stuff, Jeff, and you could tell that they were having just a little hard time hanging onto the bottom of the racetrack. So for us, a 4-tire deal was the way to go. But a lot of guys at the end did take it. But like Mike said, the track did in the middle of the race seem to have changed. And you know, we made a couple changes, and it wasn't. I didn't run 20 laps. This man James put it back where he had it because it was still, you know, a little hard to drive, but it was a lot better in the long run. So I think a lot of people chased the track just a little bit.
Let's go back to Dale Earnhardt for a minute. After the spin we saw a minute ago, he starts to pick his way back up through the field, and we want to show you this clip of him trying to pass Steve Park just to demonstrate how difficult it is to pass at Bristol, even when you've obviously got a better car than somebody you're working on.
Yeah, plus he doesn't, you know, just pick on certain people.
Yeah, that's his own car.
This is his own car, and I mean, at one time my spotter come on and said, hey, be careful here because the 3's fixing to turn 1 if something doesn't happen. And I guess he got you know, into him a couple times, just kind of wiggling him a little bit, but it is extremely hard to pass here. Obviously, Steve doesn't worry a whole lot about giving the boss much of a break.
I'm sure that's the way the boss wants it.
I'm sure that's the way the boss wants it.
This is the reason why, though, and that the minute he gets shoved to the outside, bam, a couple cars get right by him, and in that case, only 2 got by, but we've seen in times where, you know, 10 could get by fairly easy.
And Alan, that was a great point. You saw that Park was holding off Earnhardt, and Earnhardt was having trouble getting around him. We saw it for 3 or 4 laps. As soon as he passes him, he's gone. Yeah. And that just shows you the importance of being in that bottom groove and hugging the bottom. You can really slow some people up.
And even if you've got a better car, that's where the Bristol frustration can come in sometimes. You know you've got a better car, you can't get a fender underneath him, and I think that's what causes some of what you know, people sit at home look like and say, well, he didn't have the fender in there. Why was he so impatient? Well,
right. Which you can see that stuff happening too. You can see it coming. Guys just keep pushing their luck and keep pushing their luck, and it doesn't matter who they do it to. Eventually, you know, they're going to get hit. And yesterday, we didn't see a whole lot of that. Usually at the end of or during the middle of a green flag run, when the leaders are coming, someone will get turned. And we didn't see a lot of that yesterday, so people must have done a good job avoiding that situation. We saw Matt get a hold to the 13 there, and I don't really know why that happened. And then Dale get
It was momentum.
Yeah.
Matt had
It was
more.
a difference in speed.
Difference in speed at that point.
Dale got into Elliott earlier, but other than that, I don't remember anybody getting just flat turned.
Yeah.
Unless they were lapped down and in the way. Then we saw some of that.
Okay.
We saw a little bit of everything.
Typical Bristol.
Thank you.
Mr. Earnhardt obviously had one of the better cars in the field for the race, but it just was not to be his day. He would take the lead just after lap 200 and then go behind the wall just quickly after that, like about 2 laps after taking the lead. Here he goes under Gordon for the top spot, and then make it 3 laps after taking the lead. He found trouble.
He was extremely good in Saturday afternoon practice, and I mean, and this is not a surprise that Earnhardt's good and quick at Bristol. I mean, he always shines there like he does a lot of places, but he did not have his typical Bristol day, and like we've seen before, sometimes something happens in front of you. I don't care who you are, you can't miss it at Bristol.
Well, somebody got turned there. That's kind of probably what started it, and then right there, bam, just enough to get the car turned the wrong way, and as we're going to see here in a minute, he's hard into the wall on the outside there.
You notice what this happened right in front of the leaders. It's just like I said earlier, you know, somebody was pushing their luck, and the guy knew the leaders were coming, and all of a sudden you have 2 people trying to occupy the same space. Earnhardt gets into the wall pretty hard there when Kenny rebounded off the wall.
It was Matt Kenseth who made the contact with Kenny Irwin, and there you see the rear end housing in Earnhardt's car is moved well back from where it is supposed to be. He spent much time behind the wall and wound up finishing in the 39th position. Talk just for a second about the decision Dale has to make. He comes into turn 3, he sees that car sitting up there on the wall, and he's got to make a choice.
Well,
It's tough.
Yeah, stuff doesn't stay at the top of racetrack at Bristol. It's kind of one of those self-cleaning tracks. You know it's going to come down, but you can't instantly just jerk the wheel left, otherwise your car will get loose. So he turned it
down as hard as he could.
As hard as he could, as quick as he could, and missed it by that much.
And it's close because you don't know what the driver's going to do. You know, he's not sure if he's going to let off the brakes and try to get off the track as quick as he can, or if he's going to try to hold it up there as long as he can, even though he knows he's going to slide down. And it was just a timing, like Kenny said, off by that much.
And
that's all it takes.
2 other things that might happen. Earnhardt said something about Kenny needing to leave his brakes on. Well, Kenny might have had the brakes on. That thing hit hard enough where it might have blown one of the calipers out, and he wouldn't have had any brakes. And secondly, he could have very well had the brakes on, and the thing and they've been working, and the thing slid down the hill. That's a steep bank, and when you're crashing and careening out of control, it doesn't matter how many feet you have on the brakes or what the situation is, it's going to come down the hill eventually.
Yeah. He says how many feet you have on the brakes, because when you get in that situation, it's like, whoa, both of them. You need a wider pedal at Bristol, because when it's time to stop, you got to stop.
So Dale Earnhardt would wind up finishing in 39th position and lose a couple of spots in the championship chase after a couple of instances of rough luck at Bristol. Let's take a break here. We'll come back and continue our review of the Food City 500 in just a minute. On the way to the break, we remind you that Thursday night on This Week in NASCAR, Robbie Gordon is my guest. The GM Fan Forum is open at that number if you'd like to leave us a question. Thursday, 7 Eastern, Robbie Gordon on This Week in NASCAR. We are reviewing the Food City 500 from Bristol on Sunday with Michael Waltrip, Johnny Benson, and Ken Schrader on NASCAR Inside Winston Cup. Left off about the lap 300 mark. And let's look at some troubles there at that point in the race. The front runners had to dodge off of turn 4, just behind, I believe Rusty was second place at that point.
That's a couple of guys there arguing over space, and nice little 360 by Fuller there. He kept her going, but you can see here Wally sticks it in. Jeff angles off the turn, and Wally had stuck her in there, and they go synchronized spinning.
Watch third, fourth, fifth, and sixth coming through the cloud of smoke here.
Now let me explain something to you, Alan, right there. We could see through that smoke, because we were up looking down on the view, what was happening. Park could not see anything. I promise you, it's blinding when you go into that smoke, and you just rely heavily on that spotter to tell you to go somewhere because you have no idea where to go. Look at there, 15.6. We're seeing more and more of these 14, 15-second pit stops. It's really impressive. My guys cranked out one yesterday around 14.90, they said, and that's just great when you can have that type of pit stop. It feels good. You don't even get time to get your drink in your hand before you got to drop the clutch and go.
To this point in the race, Jeff Gordon has been the dominant car. He would lead 225 laps on the day, and remember, we're just past 300 laps. We run another 75 or so, and then Gordon runs into trouble on a pit stop. Not trouble necessarily that you would expect to find. First, here's the cause of the caution. I shouldn't say that you'd expect to find trouble that they necessarily brought on themselves.
He didn't do as good a job on that 360 that time.
Okay, pit stops. Now, watch Gordon. Watch Park, lower right. Notice there's an empty space between the two. And most everybody probably knows what happened to Gordon when he leaves here.
Yeah, Jeff just must have not seen the tire. He didn't make an evasive act to get around it. He just, watch this, he just kind of drives straight into it. And, you know, obviously if he had seen it, he would have went around it, and it damaged the little DuPont Chevy quite a lot there on the left front corner.
Plus, pit road's pretty narrow. I mean, I know you want to go straight out to the wall. There was a car coming, but not enough. You know, he still had plenty of room, and I'll tell you what, hitting those tires do a lot of damage to your race car.
With an empty space, though, you wouldn't think
that would happen.
Have that situation.
Yeah, Gordon was not pleased that the tire was there, left by Park's crew, and I'll jump right back on that bandwagon of, you know, we can't have people hitting tires on pit road. That tire, if that had been not the last pit stall, could have bounced into somebody's box and hurt somebody, and I'm all for making it mandatory to pick up both tires and bring them back.
Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be there, but
that said, it was laid pretty close into Park's car.
It wasn't out in the middle. It wasn't where people set them to hinder the person behind them.
Yes.
And especially when you're not pitted behind them. But let me tell you what, when you sit in that car, that dashboard's here, it's not like you can see.
You can't see the hood.
25 feet in front of the hood on the ground. Mm-hmm. So you kind of got to see when they take off something and set it down. You kind of got to remember where it is, because a lot of times you can't see it. We've all done it. I mean, it happens. It's easy to do.
And it's black and the ground's black.
Good point. It was a black wheel.
Exactly.
It would have been hard to see.
That's why he's on our expert panel. I'll tell you.
Good thing it wasn't at night. That would really complicate things.
I won't get off the fact that half the teams are doing it, half the teams aren't. You got two guys bringing tires out. You should be able to bring them both back. I think that's.
Is this one of them things you're doing?
This is an editorial position on my part. But that said,
when we're short on time later in the show, you remember you're spending a whole lot of time on Gordon's left front fender. But go ahead.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Okay.
One more of the crashes to look at was inside the final 100 laps, and this was a hard hit. Multi-car accident down turn 1 and 2, and we see that
John Andretti got in the back of the 93 for some reason, and the 9 slips by.
Right.
Oh man, that was a hard shot to the door.
Rick Mastis.
That's a very hard hit. I mean, you can see it pick the car up, and not only that, the car didn't get a chance to take all the cushion because it was up against another car, and I'm pretty sure John's real sore about that today.
I saw him walking out yesterday, and I saw Nancy, and of course John, kind of little guy blends in.
Right.
And he was walking behind and said he was okay, but it's got to be sore.
It took him a while before he got out of the car, and
it took a few minutes. Yeah. Are you done with my papers now, so I can know where we're going?
Yeah, but if you're not going to do your job, we'll do it for you.
If this
you keep telling us we can be replaced. We're not the only ones here.
If this racing thing doesn't work out okay, there could be a future in this business for you. Lap number.
Let me try that chair out.
Lap number 403. Rusty Wallace had waved Jeremy Mayfield. Go ahead. Jeremy Mayfield had waved Rusty Wallace on by into the lead to collect 5 bonus points. Rusty got away from Jeremy, whose car got loose, and that brings us now to the final laps and Mr. Benson.
This is when Johnny just decided he would try to steal the show. Man, he had a good car at the end of the race. That thing looked like it was handling perfectly. Was that what you felt?
It was pretty good. We didn't actually touch nothing all day long. James just made some air pressure adjustments and, getting by Jeremy here. But you got to remember, I took on 4 tires and a lot of guys just took on 2, and the car was just really good. I mean, I actually followed Rusty for a couple laps and had happy hour on Saturday, and I says, man, there's got to be something to why he's doing that. So I tried to make sure to do what he was doing all day long. James says, man, just be patient with the car.
What's he do?
He just stays low and keeps it straight.
Oh, okay.
So the car was really good in the long run. I didn't really care for it on new tires too much, but once we got on the long run, the car was just great. Can't be any happier for Lycos, Pontiac, Hendrick Motorsports, and everybody involved.
I just want to make one comment. I know y'all hear this a lot.
How come you only made $50 less?
How come you made one more as much as he did?
Rusty got like $50 more beer. And he'd have to pay for it.
Let me tell you one thing. If this race had been the Food City 201 or 501, I would have been 10.
You say that every week you lose just a couple spots by just a lap.
I was beside Sterling when the checkered flew.
Sterling was top 10.
He was.
You
and
were
I was
11th. You started the second 10.
Rusty Wallace's 50th career win, only the 10th driver to win 50 or more Winston Cup races, moves him into a three-way tie for 8th on the all-time winners list. Let's see. Terry Labonte gets the year's first top 5 for the Hendrick teams.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dale Jarrett was running second late, faded to 21st. Some late troubles for them, and that's the way they ran.
Bill Elliott had trouble all weekend.
Elliott Sadler was the fastest car in happy hour practice. They were so excited about their chances on Sunday, made it a lap and a half and got
First car to get hit.
Yes,
Bobby Labonte still leads the championship standings. Ward Burton moves up into second now, 41 points between the two. Rusty up to 6th on the strength of his win.
Jeff Gordon into the top 10 with his Hendrick teammate Terry Labonte.
And anybody else? Let's see. What do we have here? Tony.
What happened to
Tony
Schrader?
fell out early.
I'm next page.
Getting there. There we go.
Johnny and Schrader
Johnny
both.
takes the lead on the old expert panel. We'll come back and look at the Busch Series race from Saturday next.
You're watching.
Back on NASCAR Inside Winston Cup, continuing to review the weekend's action now with Michael, Johnny, and Kenny. We move to the NASCAR Busch Series and what some call the Crash It 250 from Saturday.
Hey, that's pretty cute.
68 laps of caution. 9 cars finished on the lead lap. Sterling Marlin, the winner of the race, who wasn't even supposed to be in the field anyway, and we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. Lots of racing mayhem to look at. And we'll start with the first turn of the first lap and a bunch of cars that never even made it back around the other way.
There goes the Band-Aid Chevy clearing that mess around the outside. Someone got a hold to cheese it there and turned him around, and then 74 and 21 wound up running into the wall. We'll have a couple more angles at this to try to analyze what exactly might have happened. I've seen it a few times myself, and I can't really tell. It's kind of
Momentum.
one of those deals where differences in speed causes some trouble here.
Right there.
Hello.
That was big.
He was trying to.
People don't realize just how fast you're going in these corners, and you don't really use any brakes.
Oh, what happened to him? He had his brakes locked up, and his wheels wouldn't turn. I bet.
That was Mike
It's just
Dillon.
easy when guys get crossed
Mike
up.
Dillon?
You start bam. It's just so easy.
It was his car that the camera went lights out in.
Well, he got run over big time by the 74. I mean, 74 got up
He
in the
drove
air
up
one
on
year.
him.
Drove up on him.
Got up.
Yep.
On
So a bunch of cars don't even make it back around the first lap. More mayhem now. Lap number 43, 2 separate crashes that are actually all a part of the same incident. This is the back end of the doubleheader.
Right there, like I say,
It's
just
pretty
gone
much a
away.
block track there.
Chaffin,
Yeah, it's
Tim
blocked.
Fedewa, Buckshot Jones. Here comes Harvick.
Is there more going to come in there?
Harvick or Hornaday? That's Harvick, yeah.
Harvick.
Now, the front end of the doubleheader.
Uh-oh, Anthony Lazzaro gets turned off of 2
Kelly down.
by Kelly Denson, and he hits hard into the outside retaining wall. You see some fire shooting out of the McDonald's drive-through Taurus.
A spotter came on. One of the spotters came on and said,
Oh, and look, here's another wreck.
There's the rest of it.
next lap or so, the 75 is going to park the 97. Trust me. And then bam, and then all of a sudden the spotter said, I told you.
There you go. So that bunch of cars sitting in a smoking heap on the back straightaway. Let's move ahead to further trouble. You're getting an idea that there's a running theme through our review of this event here. This would be Lyndon Amick and Jamie Skinner.
Yeah, Lyndon, a lot of times if you don't hit someone just on entrance, if you're going to spin them out later, you got to really stay on them.
You got to keep after it.
Lyndon got on him, and you know, it just
That wasn't that bad of a deal there.
It wasn't bad, but
I mean, it was.
This will be a good
This is
view
a
right
little
here.
more incriminating here when we.
Well, this is bad. I mean, he didn't tear his car up so bad right there.
No,
I thought
no,
running around without a back end on it, and I thought.
And Jamie does a good job even half hanging onto this thing as good as he did for as long as he was pushing on him. And it was too bad because they had a good run.
You don't understand why people would do that to each other, really. I'll tell you, watch highlights.
See all the extra rest they
Perfect
get.
sense.
Now you know why all the race fans sit at home and say, God, what do these guys think when they're driving these race
Bristol
cars?
voted number one. Number one at what? Spectator? I mean, because we wreck a lot? I mean, it's not like we can't do that other places. That's like just one of the slowest places to wreck, though. There
Yeah.
in Martinsville, so
You
you're
gotta-
going to wreck. That's a good place to wreck.
It's where people sit at home, and instead of admiring your skills as race car drivers,
laugh
they
at
sit
you.
there and laugh at you. That's exactly it.
We're okay with that.
Mikey was in the race.
We can live with that.
There you go. Mikey was in the race in the Band-Aid car, and here's our contractually obligated segment where we show a highlight of his.
Well, the Band-Aid car had such a rough day. I got it running really good at the beginning of the race and moved up through the field and was excited about my chances. And one of those grub fellas, he got running in my lane and ran me
Run in your lane.
And yeah, this is the thing.
It's your lane now.
Yeah,
We're standing on
I
top
was the
of
only
truck.
one there.
And we were loving it. I mean, Mike is
was-
running up on the top all
All
by
right, that's
himself.
enough of Mike. We're out of time. Now, here's Matt Kenseth about to give up the lead to Sterling Marlin, and this would be the pass for the win.
He wasn't doing it properly either. He got up in my lane and he was doing it wrong.
But what about Sterling?
He got
He'll get the win and win the
yeah,
race.
he won the race. But back to Mike. This is about Mike, this segment. We thought Mike was just laying the groundwork and building a groove for Sunday. As we were up there, I said, after you started backing up, you still stayed up there. And it's like, well, he's just building us a racetrack for tomorrow.
It's all about my fellow competitors.
Yeah,
and
But that
Sterling
one
did a
grub
great
boy,
job.
I mean, I had
Go ahead, Johnny. Let's talk about Sterling. He wasn't even supposed to be in the race.
He ran 25 laps in happy hour on Friday afternoon, and he told the boys, he said, cover that thing up. It's right. They will be good tomorrow. And sure enough, he was right. And man, I was glad to see Sterling win. He hadn't won in 10 years and show up for Team Sabco and didn't even know what he was doing and jumped in that little hot rod. He said it's the same car he ran at Bristol last year.
4th and 8th.
Fourth and eighth.
We'll
Just
finish
pretty good.
documenting the Sterling story in a minute. First lap, 212.
So now you
Another
don't want to
big
talk about
wreck.
Sterling.
You're using up
What do you
all
want to
the
talk
You
time.
about?
make up your mind.
Go
what
ahead,
you
show
want
the
to-
wreck.
Watch this. Now this is funny.
No, this
It is
fun.
something.
It's not funny.
Not this part.
This
Not
is a big
part.
wreck.
Huge wreck. 14
wreck.
cars involved in
Watch
this.
them come
They're still
racing
wrecking
back
back
to the-
here on the backside.
Yeah.
It's not that funny.
It's not, but they come racing back to the line.
Okay.
This is the beginnings of
That's
it.
Harvick, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Gets left rear, turns around, and then everybody decides, ooh,
Look at
they're
all of
wrecking.
them passing me back there to wreck in front of me. That's what I meant was funny. I promise you, 5 cars passed me and wrecked right in my lap.
Now, this part's not funny. We're going to ride with Elton Sawyer while he races back around.
This was
This is
big.
The
bad
leader's
news.
coming off the
This
top
was
here.
big.
And I just,
Yeah,
boy,
this-
I don't know.
They shouldn't have done it. They did finally hold Elton back and put him back behind the leader. But the leader's not even near him. And, man, he did. I mean, look at him way up there.
Caution lights are on. Cars are wrecked off turn 4.
On the apron. And I remember the track
Watch
clock.
this now. Watch this.
We saw
That's just lucky.
John Andretti take a hit that was extremely hard
And that was in a corner
And he's still
in a
moving.
corner.
when he
If-
went on the gas.
If Elton would have hit, it would have been 3-4 times
big.
harder
Exactly.
than that.
I wish we could go back to that one that shows them people passing me and wrecking in front of me. Now, how do they do that? I was slowing down.
Did you have your arm up? You're supposed to be waving. Did you have your arm up?
I don't know.
Man,
All right.
That's crazy.
18 laps to go. Matt Kenseth's been having a solid run all day, but in third position in the final laps, trouble will find him in turn number 2.
You missed the start of that. It meant the 57 went down on the apron and was kind of beside him, not totally, but as they come up off the track or back onto the racetrack,
Yeah.
he got into his left rear and then of course got a hold of him there again. But
Jason kind of ran down off the track, and when he came back on it, he got up
Yeah.
and hit Matt.
Now let's get back to the Sterling story while we look at the finishing order. David Steele, the rookie driver for that team, was struggling trying to get up to speed Friday
which is easy to do.
at Bristol, absolutely. So they got Sterling and said, here, qualify the car to make sure it gets in the race. But you can't
He did too good
have
of a job.
somebody else qualify a car
For a
and then
rookie.
put a rookie driver in it for the race. So Sterling had to run the race.
You people are all over this stuff. That's exactly right. Why did Jeff Green win more money than Sterling? Jeff ran second. Sterling won.
yeah, how come I didn't win more than Rusty?
Plan money, so on.
How
That
did
team.
you only make $50
Oh,
less?
you know that?
They
I'm
must have
sorry.
figured all the
Asking a
contingencies that
rhetorical
Rusty didn't have his stickers on it.
Oh, and you got all those
Wasn't that funny?
contingencies.
That's a good reason.
How many cars
Okay,
were on
look,
one lap?
Sterling's second
$6,800.
Busch Series win, the other at
Charlotte.
What year?
1990. 10 years between his wins.
All right, championship standings now. Todd Bodine leading Randy LaJoy. There you see by not much. Todd, the top Busch Series regular. I
Let's
had
tip
that
our
figured
cap
out
to
somewhere.
Harnaday.
22 points there with
Ron
me.
Hornaday is
Let's
having
tip our
a good
cap
job.
to Harnaday. Top 5 in the points, 6 races in. He's just now getting this Busch stuff figured out a little bit. Watch for him to be a real contender for this championship before everything's said and done.
Question
and
of the
remember,
week
you
will
heard
be
it
next
here.
after this break.
Mark Martin's still 7th.
This week's Castrol Flashback Fact takes us back to March 27, 1988, when Lake Speed upsets the favorites in the Trans-South 500 at Darlington for his only career Winston Cup win.
NASCAR Inside Winston Cup is brought to you in part by Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse. Lowe's, improving home improvement. Eagle One Car Appearance Products, for the look you dream about. And Monroe, for the latest in ride control technology, leave it to Monroe.
Before we get to question of the week, let's review the Truck Series race now from
Forgot
Mason
about
and
them,
Raceway.
didn't ya?
Well, you shuffled my script on me before, so I wasn't sure where I was going. The Dodge California Truck Stop 250, 13 lead changes, 9 caution flags, and 14 of the starters finished on the lead lap. And let's jump right into our review of this one. The early going was pretty tame. We had Mike Wallace and Jack Sprague, and Andy Houston took some turns leading. And let's jump into some pit action now, which is where the first of the heavy contact seemed to happen. I'm not sure what that was. It looked like a quart of oil to me. That'd be a new one to pitch out the window when you needed debris caution. Watch the exit of the pits here. As Joe Ruttman tries to leave, Greg Biffle is trying to get to his pit box.
Oh, I'll tell you what, we see on all these smaller tracks, the pits are so crowded. And, we're lucky we don't have more problems than we do. But here's Biffle pulling out. Oh, man.
Biffle pulling in.
Biffle, he just stopped. Oh, no, hold on. Okay.
It's not over yet.
You just got to muscle your way in there. But he did some damage to the 18 truck there.
Yeah, the fronts are plastic
Front
though,
stuff
so
here,
it's not bad. Yeah.
It's the trucks. They don't, half-mile track.
Tough trucks.
Tough truck.
trucks.
Very good.
Right.
That was Ram tough truck.
Yes, that was a Dodge. Very good. You angling for a deal?
No.
Randy Tolsma looked like a potential winner. He ran up through the field from his 12th starting spot, and for a second straight week had a terrific run going, and then had problems again.
Oh, no.
He's got a gorilla on his back, not just a monkey.
He's in the little sit-go truck there, and I talked to his PR man, Doug Cox, and he said he's going to win this race, and it looked like Doug was going to be right for a long time.
This will be him passing Andy Houston for the race lead, or actually this is when he had the problems, yeah.
As if he's getting past.
Yeah. Engine troubles.
They don't call us the expert panel for nothing.
You eventually run into a problem here.
I'm just not going there.
This is not a good sign. I mean, you can see everybody's pulling them pretty hard on the straightaways and still doing pretty good in the corners.
And the telltale sign, watch the exhaust pipes.
And smoke.
Smoke, very good.
Both sides.
But I guarantee you, it wasn't a viscosity breakdown. That it was not.
Okay, so Tolsma would wind up fading back into the field and finishing 25th after looking like a potential winner. Toward the final laps, Joe Ruttman is leading. Randy Renfro is racing for the top spot with him. They run up on the Ryan McGlynn slower truck in turn 3.
Oh, just
and it
a
gets really
bad
ugly.
deal.
They decide to try. Ruttman said, I'm going to pinch you behind that truck, and Renfro said, you're not. And something had to give, and I think that's the best way to explain that.
Neither one did anything wrong.
No.
I don't think so.
No,
Randy was in there well enough to where, I mean, Joe was going to try to pin him down. So you got to just say that's a tough truck.
Ouch.
Tough racing. That cleaned off the back of the little.
It never
thing
lifted.
to Dodge.
You see,
No, he's
you see the
still
whole
going.
time just smoking on it. But you know, in the lap truck, he did what he was supposed to do. He was right down at the bottom.
Oh, right there.
That was big. You know, but he was right on the bottom. I mean, he was out of the way as much as he could get.
Let's go to the final restart. Excuse me, with that cheeseburger you brought. 4 laps to go now.
Had onions too.
Mike Wallace goes for the win.
This is a great racetrack. The competition here is always just so much fun to watch.
He filled that hole up fairly convincingly.
Pretty good door slam there, but you got to do what you got to do right there.
This is a multi-groove facility. It's a little half-mile track. If you can't get excited about a race like these trucks put on a track like Bakersfield, then you're barking, or Mason Marine. Where are they at?
They're at Bakersfield. A good racing behind Randy Renfro because of his older tires, got shuffled back a little bit, and the 99 truck made a good run at him. I want to say one thing here. I want to really congratulate Mike Wallace and Timmy Cahuth, because the last 2 years at Bakersfield, they've been out there with our truck and been leading that thing with 20 laps to go, and they burned up a gear, and they had a valve spring get them one time, and I was glad to see them both win that.
Second win in 4 races this year for Mike Wallace.
He's heading things up in the truck series this year. You got to tip your cap to Kurt Busch. He's done a great job in that little truck. And what about our buddy Steve Grissom? Was on the show last week, went to Bakersfield, never even seen the place before, and ran fourth. You can see the points here. Mike Wallace leading things up, followed by Andy Houston, Kurt Busch, Greg Biffle, and Joe Ruttman in Bobby Hamilton's Dana Dodge. And on the second page, we got Steve Grissom, Jack Sprague, Terry Cook, Setcher, and Rick Crawford rounding up top 10. And we'll be right back for Question of the Week next on Inside Winston Cup.
This week's Pep Boys Car Care Tip of the Week. Regularly check your oil and be sure to have it changed every 3,000 miles. Always use the right viscosity as specified in your car owner's manual.
We get right to Question of the Week.
Right to it, huh?
Your topics for our expert panel. Our Super 8 question of the week is from Plano, Texas. Eric Elliott wants to know, is there a right-of-way concerning cars entering versus exiting pit row?
Haven't they watched any of their highlights?
Basically,
This would be a
No.
basically, it's whoever gets there first.
yep.
Or second.
Every
Just-
man
it
for
doesn't matter.
himself.
And even if you just think they're
Hey, they
you're there
almost started
first,
a chain. Maybe not.
even if you just think you're there first, you can press the issue.
Right, and then you'll find out how serious those people that thought they were there first are about it. So no, thanks for writing in.
But you try to be careful because, as we saw with Jeff Gordon, you can damage your car real easy, just as easy on pit road as you can on a racetrack.
We were all over that one.
We
Yeah,
were.
that was pretty good.
Terrific.
Yeah, let's move
Kind
on.
of answered.
Yeah, what's
Our
the next
preview
segment?
of this weekend's Texas race next.
If you have a question for our drivers, mail it to Question of the Week. Post Office Box 240417, Charlotte, North Carolina 28224. Or email us at speedvision.com.
Because when you're flying.
Time now for our race preview. This weekend it's off to Texas Motor Speedway for the DirecTV 500. We take a look at it now with Johnny, Michael, and Kenny, starting with a spin around the Texas Motor Speedway. Go.
Oh, smoking down in turn one, and finally the bank picks you up just a little bit. Smoke down, there's a bump right there in the middle somewhere, and you come off two, and that use up a lot of racetrack.
You want to be right on the bottom of the racetrack, come up to the wall, and one thing it's pretty cool about this place, it's extremely fast, but turns 3 is real smooth. You can really let it rip down in there, but there again, you want to be right on the bottom.
They've improved this facility tenfold. It's the most beautiful track, in my opinion, we go to, with the amenities for the fans and the landscaping and the setting of the racetrack. And now the track we race on is perfect. It's a great track. We saw the groove widen out. Plenty of racing there last year. Thumbs up, Texas.
The problems associated with the first couple of years pretty much eliminated by some of the reconfiguration that they
They've done a
did.
tremendous job, like Mike said. It's
Yeah.
a lot wider. Before, you used to come off turn 4, you weren't sure if you're going to hit the wall this lap or 5 laps down the road, and now they've made it to where you can really race off both ends of the track.
They didn't put a Band-Aid on it. They brought in
They
big
fixed it.
bulldozers and fixed it right.
Although a Band-Aid would have helped.
Thank you. I knew we were going somewhere with that. The tire that the new generation Goodyear that started being used at Michigan in August, you'll get that at Texas this time around, I assume. Will that radically change the feel and the setups, and will this be a real head scratcher trying to get the car sorted out Friday, or does that really matter?
It'll be a factor for sure.
Yeah, we'll let you know more on Monday.
We don't really know.
We'll be right back with you.
I knew when I was hitting those blank stares, I'd hit on a topic that nobody had thought a minute
You should have
about.
got yourself out of that.
No. Okay, we'll take a break here, come back and wrap it up in just a minute. Yeah, should I drop my chair? Thursday night on Speedvision, 7 Eastern Time. Robbie Gordon with me on This Week in NASCAR. Then next Monday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, Schrader, Benson, and Waltrip back. Network executives willing, and we review the Texas races from the Busch Series and the Winston Cup Series from this weekend. Just want to take a minute and mention, hang on, Race for Life program. At that toll-free number, they had a benefit up in Bristol this weekend, and a lot of folks in the sport very interested in the organ donor program, and if you'd like to help them out, give them a call at that number. And I know I'm cutting into Michael's plug time and Schrader's plug time, but I'm just trying to see how squirmy I can make them before I give them their final few
Well,
seconds.
I know you're wanting to talk about opening night
Schrader's Speedway at Peevely opens this Saturday night.
this Saturday night.
Oh, and what a time it is to go to Peevely. He's got a snow cone machine. He's got everything everything you could hope for at a dirt track. It's a lot of fun to go there. And we are always curious about how many people watch this show. And we hear a lot of fans talk about it. We were talking about this a minute ago. If you watch this show, log on to michaelwaltrip.com on the computer and say you watch it.
HitchRadarRacing.com, too.
I told him I would do a plug for michaelwaltrip.com. And you did. So I did. And another thing is, we did a charity dinner Friday night in Bristol for DW, honoring DW. Rusty Wallace, Bill Elliott, Dale Earnhardt, tons of people were there. We raised a lot of money for Bruton's kids and people in the Bristol area.
This is our home track for Tim Beverly, our car owner, so we're looking forward to going to Texas.
Johnny, we're real proud of you, man.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Good job.
I'm just hoping we're looking forward to getting to come back.
Hopefully see you next week. Goodbye.
NASCAR Inside Winston Cup has been presented by
Hey, Bentley's in the house.